England, early 20th century. In a small village, three girls are playing peacefully in their room when suddenly they leave their toys and, in a kind of trance, head towards the window, open it, and jump out. In London, meanwhile, Arthur Kipps, a young widowed lawyer, still has to face mourning after his wife died giving birth to their son Joseph, who is now 4 years old, so much so that he still sees his wife's spirit wandering around the house, and it is with extreme reluctance that he must leave Joseph in the care of the nanny when he is assigned to take care of the details related to the inheritance of Alice Drablow, a client of his boss, who recently passed away. Arthur cannot refuse the assignment as his career is at stake. However, he promises his little one that at the end of the week he will be able to reach him by train in the village where he has been sent. In the village, Arthur encounters the reluctance of the townspeople. The innkeeper, for example, is reluctant to give him a room, and only thanks to a chance meeting with Mr. Daly, a good man from the area, does he manage to find accommodation. Also, the local lawyer, Mr. Jerome, treats him poorly, inviting him to return to London. Arthur then pays a coachman to take him to Eel's Marsh, the home of the Drablows, which seems to be feared by everyone. The house is in a state of maximum isolation, as it is situated on an island in the middle of a marsh and is connected to the village by a single road that is often impassable due to tides and fog. While he is doing his work, Arthur perceives in the house the presence of a mysterious woman dressed in mourning, and the noise of a carriage sinking into the quicksand that surrounds the house, followed by cries for help. However, it seems that no incident has occurred. Back in the village, the boy goes to the police, but at that moment two children arrive carrying their little sister in terrible condition. She has drunk bleach. Before Arthur can help her, she falls into his arms, vomiting blood, and dies. That same night, during a dinner at the Daly's home, Mrs. Daly, who suddenly seems to be possessed by the spirit of her son, who also died at a young age, carves the figure of a hanged man into the table, saying she has made the portrait of Arthur. The next day, the townspeople pressure Arthur to leave, but instead, he returns to Drablow's house with the intention of spending the night there. Here he discovers the letters from Janet, the secret sister of Mrs. Drablow. Janet, unable to care for her son, had entrusted him to her sister and her husband, who had raised him as their own, even preventing her from seeing him. The child had died when the carriage they were traveling in got stuck in quicksand, and Mrs. Drablow had thought of saving herself, leaving him to die. Janet's last letters expressed great hatred. That night, the appearances of the woman in black become more frequent and terrifying, and Arthur sees, in addition to her, the spirits of many children from the village, including the girl who died the previous day. The next morning, while returning to the village, Arthur and Mr. Daly come across the burning house of lawyer Jerome, in which his second daughter also dies, whom the two had kept segregated in the basement to prevent her from meeting the same fate as her older brother, who died many years earlier. Later, Mrs. Daly, possessed by the spirits of the children, explains the truth to Arthur. Due to her hatred for her sister, Janet's spirit returned in the form of the woman in black. Moreover, having been deprived of her son, she causes the children of others to die in violent circumstances that always follow her appearance. Before fainting, Mrs. Daly takes the time to carve the same drawing into a stone that Arthur's son had given her before the departure, making it clear that he is the next victim. Determined to save his son, Arthur tries everything, with the help of Mr. Daly and his car, to rescue Janet's son from the quicksand. After finding him, he takes him to Eel's Marsh house in the playroom. There, the woman in black arrives, who seems to examine her son's body and then disappears, leaving Arthur convinced that he has broken the curse. Later, Joseph arrives at the village station, where he is greeted by Arthur. However, while his father is distracted, the boy begins to walk along the tracks, in the same trance as the other children. Arthur realizes in time to throw himself onto the tracks, but both he and Joseph are run over by the moving train. However, suddenly everything becomes silent and the two see the spirit of Arthur's wife. The three reunite and walk towards the horizon, watched from a distance by the woman in black, who lets them go to repay Arthur, but who will return to attack the village children because, as she herself had specified in life in a letter to her sister, she would never forgive.